There are some people that I feel drawn to. I don't know how that is with you, but there are some people who radiate, who express something. They have this, I feel like moving closer to them because there is something about them. And I think that's a good thing because, and we have mentioned these people, many of these people last Sunday, the saints, the heroes, the angels, they're all one family, whether they're alive among us or whether they passed on. But there is something about some people where I feel drawn to, and it's generally positive energy, it's a beauty, something is shining and radiating in and through them. And I think that's a little bit what I want to focus on today, because that love that we hear about, that finds expression, I think, in who people are, how they live, how they move around, whether they're connected to the ground, whether they're open, whether some energy flows in them and through them. And I want to ask you today to focus on some of those people in your life. So who have been the people in your life who radiate something, who express a beauty in them? And very specifically, the people in whom you could see, tangibly feel some kind of love, some kind of energy, and who live that in a generous way. I'm not talking about generous only in money terms. You know, there is a way of living generously, kindly, and you see it in some people's smiles, in people holding the door, in people helping someone cross the street, in people just being present and aware and receptive and being open. So who are those people in your lives who embodied this kind of generous life of living generatively and generously? And when I think of my life, there are two people standing out. One is my mom. Well, in addition to her being mom, which in itself is life-giving and loving through action. So can you ever imagine a mom just sitting there and saying, I love you, and doesn't do a thing? It's not working that way, isn't it? That's the love that includes everything, sweat, blood, and tears. That is true love. Not the clean, distant love, but the hands-on, the love that is active, involved, where you put your hands are involved and are doing the work. So one thing you do not know about my mother that came back to me just recently was my mother founded and started a small little nursing home. I don't know how she did it, but she must have had deep, deep faith, deep, deep love, and the grand vision that a better world is possible. It was in a village of 200 or 300 people who lived in that village, and around that village there were several other villages, also like 100, 200, 300 people living like in these small little nests around that one village. And there was no nursing home in that area at all. There was one in the city, but it was deplorable. And for my mom, the vision was, there is no way how this can be meaningful and loving way for these seniors to live if we uproot them. It's almost like you take the tree, you uproot the tree and try to plant it there. It wouldn't work. So her vision, her love, her energy was, it wasn't all her doing, and she wouldn't ever say, I did it. But she rallied others to try to make this happen. So there were donations coming in, and she bought, well, it was a nonprofit organization she chaired. They bought 2 adjacent buildings, small houses, and they made them accessible, and they built a small kitchen in there. And to this day, there are about 25 seniors living there in dignity, loved, being cared for, with activities. It's just amazing. I'm in awe in that sense, just looking back at my mother's life, how she worked. And it's hard work, my friends, to make that happen. But it was her love, her dedication that found expression in making that possible, that dream for those seniors in those small villages around to come and still be in their community and be connected with it. So, wow, that's one of my things. Now, sometimes, I'm standing at the door after the service and people walk by, and sometimes there is one word or one sentence that just I get back. Sometimes, I always get something back. But some are like, wow. And one from last Sunday, when Dave and Bonnie Stimson were here, the daughter of June Straub and her husband, he said, you know what? This connection in between love and blood, they need to flow, otherwise you're dead. So if your blood doesn't flow, same with love. There is nothing like stagnant love. It's an oxymoron. It's a contradiction in itself. It's got to flow. It's got to move. It's got to be alive. It's just like what you always hear from the scoutmasters and from those who go out camping. If you run out of water, always drink water from a running creek, never from a stagnant water, because that's breeding ground. That's gonna make you very sick. So think of it as love flows. It's always flowing. And that's when we love, when we live generously and generatively, something flows in us and through us. It's this movement we participate and move into God's great love and God's great movement for our lives and for the whole universe. Now, sometimes people ask me, I don't know if I should go there or not. Yes, no. Go for it. Okay. So, when I think of the overall congregation, what we are about, at the core, it's always coming back to the center, to the love, to who we are, and it's the active, it's the flowing love. And to tune in and to live in that and be refreshed and participate in that, that's what it is. What are the greatest hindrances or obstacles to living generatively and to living lovingly and givingly? I think, to me at least, this is what, and I'm listening to people, what is it? I think one of the greatest obstacles is fear. I am afraid that when I open up and give more and love more, I will not have enough left. I've been talking with this mother. She was expecting her second baby. And she was wondering, will I ever be able to love my second baby as much as my first baby? You see it? Think like we think it's limited when we love, but it's not. When we love, something opens up and it flows and we can love more. It's almost like The feedback is love, and it flows, and it makes us more beautiful, it makes us more loving, just like that mother. She adored her third baby too. Love multiplied. It was, wow. Why would we not want to love extravagantly, my friends? A journalist went to interview Mother Teresa. At the end of the interview, he asked her, what is one message I can take back to the people for whom I work and the ones to whom I write? And she said, tell them to become more loving, tell them to become more giving. And they were connected for her. So where and how do you love extravagantly? Where in your life, and how in your life does love find expression? How do you love? Isn't that something? Now I want you to get a view of who we are at St. Paul's, what we are about, how love flows in and through our ministries. We love together. We cry together. We hug each other. We go through heaven and hell together. That's why I love St. Paul's. I love each one of you, and that's why I give, because I cannot imagine a better congregation than having all of you as fellows who love God and love our community, our neighbors as ourselves. Thank you for loving.